how'd you break through that struggle of getting a deal here and there to consistent month after month deal flow?
Yeah, I mean that transition that's where I think a lot of businesses go to die, right? I think,
Yeah.
and there's obviously we can sit here, we could probably create a 3-hour show based on that. But the biggest thing is going from looking at this as a hobby to an actual business. And so what I mean by that is that a lot of us get into this business because we see the end result. One of the
Mhm.
things that I'm very grateful for is when I started, I had to put in the work. Like it wasn't like I needed to make the phone calls. I had to go knock on doors. I had to do the driving for dollars. So my commitment to that meant that I'm going to push through this no matter what. And
Right.
so I wasn't just looking for one deal. There was nothing for me to see like the end result. There was like no, like a lot of stuff that you see now on social media. I think we were a little bit of trendsetters back in 2018, 2017, right? Showing all this, like there wasn't a lot of YouTube. But going back to your question is, I think is that, right? That transition of, do you want to be a person that only gets, tries to go after that one deal, treat it as a hobby? because
Mhm.
because what happens is you restart every single time, and I call it the vicious circle, right? The vicious cycle, excuse me. So there's prospecting, follow up, and closing, right? Prospecting,
Mhm.
follow up, and then closing. So what happens is in the beginning, you do all three, right? You're following up with people, cold calling, or sorry, you're prospecting, you're cold calling, you're texting, and then you're following up. You got to follow up with the leads, and then you're going to the sales appointments, right? Whether it's on the phone or in person, you're doing all three. So at some point, in order for you to get consistent deal flow, you got to figure out like, hey, one of these is going to suffer, or two of them in the beginning, right? It's going to suffer. So the first thing that I always tell people is you need to outsource your prospecting, because that's
Hmm.
always the easiest, right? Prospecting, I don't care. Like you can hire a cold caller, a texter. You can never. Most people for some reason want to outsource acquisitions, which is the dumbest thing ever. Like you cannot. You know this. I mean, you obviously. I think that's probably you still do it now. I'm assuming. I'm not sure, but I still do it now, right?
Yep.
But yeah. So that's how you start. But again, that goes back to what I'm saying. That's only one part. Is you got to look at it as a business, but how do you do that? Right? Is building relationships. Got to bridge the gaps, with relationships that get you to a point where you want to actually treat this as a business. And I can
Right.
tell you, that's one of the things that I made a mistake on when I first started is I didn't build relationships fast enough, because when I did that, that was the transitional point, is that when I started building the relationships, those were the bridges to the gaps, and that's how I started to be able to get that consistent deal flow, because I now knew what I needed to do in my business. If I was struggling in something, I reach out to somebody. If I needed to information on something, I would reach out to someone, and that's what's helped me to to get that consistent deal flow. Obviously, we can get into like marketing, if you want to spend more and things like that, but I think looking at this, you got to look at this as a business, because if you look at it as a hobby, you're going to struggle. I mean, you're quite a bit, if not a lot, and you're going to quit.